Hi, welcome to the Jon Gaunt broadcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it. The BBC TV license is a poll tax. It's time to scrap it. Why are we forced to pay 159 quid a year to the BBC? Well, I know they do it through a proxy service, but to the BBC or go to prison? It can't be right. So I want your views. Is the BBC TV licence a fair way to fund the state broadcaster, or is it a poll tax for TV in a news streaming world? Is the BBC just a propaganda arm of the government? Do you think they're fair and equal? Do you think they still educate, entertain, and inform? Or do you think they're full of lefty, woke twats who don't want your opinion on their screens but want you to pay for it? My name's Jon Gaunt. I want your views. Your views are very important within this whole debate, so get them in. So the basis of the programme is this. Is the BBC TV licence still worth paying in 2025? Welcome to the show. I'm Jon Gaunt, by the way. You can make comments, just write them at the bottom of your screen and I'll read out the best ones and it all becomes part of the debate. If you are watching live, please stream it out to other people as well. And if you really love it, why don't you tell other people to start watching as well? So the TV licence, is it an outdated poll tax on British households? Is the funding model completely wrong? Should it be scrapped? Should the BBC stand on its own 2 feet and compete in the digital market space? Or is that unfair? Or could they take some form of advertising? I've said for years, ever since Morse was sponsored by Beamish or Guinness and then Cadbury's and Coronation Street, would it hurt BBC programmes at the beginning of EastEnders today to say, here's EastEnders brought to you by Valium or Mogadon or whatever? You get the point of what I'm saying. It wouldn't get in the way. And the sponsorship is all over the BBC anyway. Look at any major sporting event and the sponsors everywhere. I don't think it would damage them at all. Now, I know what I'm talking about because, as you probably are aware, I worked for the BBC. I was always a freelancer, but I worked for them for the best part of 25 years. I am, of course, the man who won 3 Sony Awards. They're the Oscars of the radio. I won them in one night. I was, I guess, a top talk radio presenter. And here I am now talking to you in my spare bedroom. But I tell you what I'm mostly upset about now. I'm ashamed of what the BBC has become. When I first got a job there, I was really proud of it. And I went to America very quickly after I started. And it was an amazing thing to say, yes, I work for the BBC. It opened doors. It's not the same now. The BBC now is bloated. It's broken. And it's completely biased. It is full of woke idiots. We've seen it this week with Nuneaton, where the local radio station, which is the only part of the BBC publicly funded that I would keep, although I might have to draw a line under CWR, Coventry and Warwickshire Radio, they didn't deal with this story at all weekend, although today and yesterday they've been trying to make up for it by going on and on about it and making out as if the court case of the men who are alleged to have carried out this terrible assault on this 12-year-old girl, this alleged assault, of course, we must say at the moment, they're making out it was just yesterday. It was last week. It's just ridiculous. The BBC isn't fit for purpose. I'm saying the political bias, the left-wing dominance is just out of order. I think they overpaid talent. I've got to be honest. I think I probably got overpaid there when I was their top local radio star. I didn't say no to it, obviously. But they've also now got a shrinking audience, which, of course, they never had when on any of the programmes I worked on. I don't want to be big-headed, but I used to treble the audiences. Why are you doing it in your bedroom then? Because I'm being blackballed. And they've now got massive competition from the streaming giants like Netflix, YouTube and Spotify. And then closer to home, I suppose they've got pressure from things like GB News, who, although they're not making money at the moment, they're building an audience and they're becoming a force. But the biggest thing about the BBC is that young people between the ages of 16 and 25, hardly any of them watch linear TV, let alone the BBC. But the BBC is still obsessed with going for the youth. It was like in local radio. I kept saying to them, go for older people. They're the people who will listen to us because we're talking about the things that matter to them. But no, they go for the cult, I said cult, of youth all the time, which is why their audience is falling apart. They've changed Radio 2, so it's like Sub Radio 1 or Radio 1. I don't know what that's meant to be, but I'll tell you something else. Radio 1 and Radio 2, there's no need for them. They're already there in the marketplace, in the private sector, aren't they? Why do you need a Radio 1 funded out of your money? Or Radio 2? And I'm going to go further, and the knobs hate this. Radio 4, with things like the Today programme, why can't that be sponsored or funded? Mainly by the people who listen to it. Look at Classic FM, the way that works. That's a commercial radio station. Why on earth does a licence fee, on pain of going to prison if you don't pay it, have to be used? And have you ever got one of those letters off them when they're chasing you up for the licence fee? Who the effing heck do they think they are? I don't know, they'll say, it's not us, it's another company, and the licence isn't just for us. It is. It's a BBC licence fee. If you want to watch any of that telly, you've got to have one. Or so they tell you. Although 500,000 people, the refuseniks, are now no longer paying for it. It's going to collapse on itself. So wouldn't it be better to sort out the BBC now? So what's your view? So what we're going to discuss tonight is BBC bias. Is it biased in your opinion? And if so, how? Give me some examples. What about impartiality? What about the fact they've actually admitted recently things like, oh yeah, we found out that the kid who was doing the documentary about Gaza was an Hamas terrorist's son. The BBC. Whether BBC 1 and BBC 2, Radio 4, and indeed Radio 5 dead, should they all thrive in the private sector? Look at Talk Sport, a mega success. That isn't funded out of the public purse. Why don't we just leave it to them? Do we really need Radio 5? Local radio I'm slightly different on because it wouldn't be provided by the market. However, it should be all speech all day and talking about local issues. It shouldn't be substandard, let's play another Carpenters record or let's play another record by Wham, right? I sit in the local cafe some days and I can predict what the songs are going to be. It's so formulaic, and that's not what it should be. What local radio should be is, God bless him, like James Whale. I'm not saying everyone should be James Whale, but it should be people who just can talk and talk about their area, like Tony Butler, who invented the football phone-in in Birmingham. That's what it should be. That's what it was when I was on local radio. And I don't care if you think I'm being big-headed. Local radio then was much better. It was big local personalities talking about their town, their city, their county. And the audience lapped it up. Look at the figures. Now it's Sub Radio 2, and Radio 2 is Sub Radio 1. It's all a bland mush. Leave it to the market. What about the streaming revolution? Netflix, YouTube, Spotify. Do you ever watch the BBC? There's another question for you. I know often I'll say, oh, I saw this on the BBC, and people often say on Twitter or X, you don't still watch that, do you? And listen, they do produce some great shows. But when you watch the news, it's not the news, is it, anymore on the BBC? I think I spoke to you yesterday when I said, like the incident in Nuneaton, it didn't even make the breakfast bulletins or then the 1 o'clock news. Because they're so scared. They're so politically correct. And because the accused are foreigners, They didn't want to talk about it. Interestingly, I see Starmer today and Yvette Cooper are now saying the police are wrong. They should say who the offenders were, not necessarily exactly where they live, but they should say, yes, their status is this. You don't think that's anything to do with Southport, do you? All the criticism loads of people, including me, were giving in to Starmer yesterday. Talking of Starmer, I see he started his 1 in, 29 out, or whatever it is. How's that going to work? 1 in, 1 out, and he thinks that's going to cut migration. The maximum it will be in a week is 50, but there's 500 or 600 a day coming in. The guy hasn't got a clue, but I tell you what's worse, he's trying to con you. What did you make of the Glastonbury controversy? Not just the fact they let that guy shout death to Jews effectively, but also the fact that they need 350 or 400 people to run it. I'll ask you a question. Does Glastonbury need to be paid out of your pocket? I argue not. A commercial channel would take that on. They'd probably do it better. They'd employ a load of ex-BBC people and you wouldn't have to pay for it. So I say the TV license is a poll tax. And you know what happened with the poll tax? They should not be able to threaten you with prison. You should have completely free choice, free speech in a free world. Are you with me or not? Join the live chat, put your comments down there and get in touch. Let's get talking. £159 a year for the license fee. Is that good value? Maybe you think it is. Let me hear from you today, please. What we got? We got 7 likes, which isn't great. Nearly 100 on YouTube watching at the moment. Let's have more of you. Reshare it. Tell everyone about it. But the debate tonight is the BBC license fee. I can't tell you how proud I was when I worked for them at the beginning. But gradually, it just got worse and worse. It was awful. When I went to BBC London, if you dared to say the M word, Muslim, the whole control room filled up with like guppies. Management bricking themselves. I was censored more on the BBC London radio station, which is why I was never, ever that happy there, than I ever was when I wrote for The Sun, or even when I wrote for Sputnik, funded by the Russians. And then people said to me, how can you do those things? I said, well, because I used to work for the BBC. The BBC was so censorious. Sounds painful, doesn't it? It was a shock. It never used to be like that. When I got my job, first of all, on BBC Coventry, Andy Wright, the guy who discovered me, said, just go on and say whatever you feel is right, John, and I'll back you up. That's local radio. That's free speech. But now it's, let's play the Carpenters. Let's play George Michael. Let's not mention anything else. Let's do this. Here's the travel. I was listening to 2 Pratts today on CWR. It was appalling radio. Just appalling. Somebody's told them, tell a few anecdotes. But if you tell an anecdote, it has to be interesting. And unfortunately, they're not interesting people. It's simple radio. You go on and talk. And you talk sometimes about your own life and what you've been up to. That's how you do it. I think I've told you before. When I got the job at CWR, Andy Wright said to me, have you been on holiday? I said, no, I'm skint. I'm on the dole. I was penniless at the time. And we just had the baby. We just had Rosie. That's how long ago it was. She's 30 odd now. And he said, well, go to Florida. I said, I haven't got any money. And he took some money out of this drawer, out of this cabinet, and gave me it. He said, you and Lisa need a holiday. So I said, oh, well, thank you very much. As you would if you're from the arse end of Radford and somebody's suddenly offering you money to go on holiday. And then he said, there's only one condition. I thought, oh, here we go. I said, what's that, Andy? When you go through customs, or whatever you call it, entry at Miami, buy a radio for $10, a little transistor radio, and listen to the AM stations, the talk stations. So I went, yeah, all right, mate, all right. But anyway, when I got there, I did feel guilty. So I did spend $10, whatever it was, and I bought a radio. And we went to a place called Fort Myers, little grotty motel, great place, run by 2 Canadian people. We had a fantastic holiday. But I started listening to American radio, and it was just revolutionary. Blew my mind. It was just ordinary people talking about where they live. There was 2 guys who did a car mechanic show, and it was, I know nothing about cars. I don't even know where to put the oil, right? But they were talking about, oh, you got this problem, that problem. But it wasn't about the car. Then the debate went on to other things. It's like when people say, oh, Top Gear. Top Gear's not about cars. Even Jeremy Clarkson's latest program, it's not really about farming. It's about him and his relationship with those people and their honesty and then the way they put it together. And it just clicked in my head. That's what it is. So when we have a debate about education on local radio, I used to talk about my kids and the dilemmas I was facing. And that made other people open up and tell me their stories. And then we created this fantastic radio, which won all these awards eventually, but got massive audiences. It was just having a natter. It was just being bloody honest. It wasn't like going, oh, hi, I'm fine, I'm brilliant, everything's great, when actually your life's fallen about. It wasn't that. It was just telling the truth. Oh, I've got hangover today. Or, oh, I've done this. Or I went there. Oh, I was amazed when this happened because I'm me. I got invited to this event. I couldn't believe it. You never guess who was there. And that carried on all the way through my career, even to the day when I went to the Oxo Tower and to a party that Rupert Murdoch was holding, and the 200 most important people in the world were there. Oh, and me. It was incredible. Everybody was famous. Or went to Buckingham Palace for some big reception. Spent the night getting drunk with Barbara Windsor. And what's his name? Alfie. Alfie, not that one, the other one. Out of EastEnders. It was just about being real. But I listen to radio now, and I'm going off more. And it's none of those things, is it? None of those things. Just prats. Oh, my gender's this, your gender's that. No. Oh, let me talk to you about the Tour de France. No one's interested. Talk about your life. Talk about the real things that matter and how it affects you and how it affects other people. That's enough for the training. I should charge for that. Roseth says, scrap the BBC once and for all. Well, fair enough, but would you bother replacing it with anything? See, that's what I want to know. I want to see solutions. The BBC licence is the biggest waste of money after Starmer's wages, says Ronnie Hurst. I like your comment, Ronnie. I like your style. The only thing I would say about that is it's 157 quid, which is a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to Sky, which is why I suppose many people now have got those, what are they called? I haven't got one. What's it called? A Fire Stick. People aren't willing to pay this kind of money anymore and be ripped off. That's why the license fee can't exist how it is. And look, David Attenborough. People say, oh, well, David Attenborough's good. Yeah, okay, well, pay for it then. Have it on a subscription. Why should I don't want to watch David Attenborough. I find him boring. My wife loves him. I don't want to pay for it. Like Radio 4. Oh, the Today programme. Did you hear the minister at 8:10? No. And if you want to hear him, fucking pay. Why should I pay for it? I'm willing to pay for the cricket that I watched just recently on Sky. Of course I am. But that's good. But it's your choice. Maybe I've got it wrong. I don't know how the BBC can justify the TV licence when they put Wimbledon on BBC 1 and 2 for hours on end. Well, Jackie Ward on YouTube, that's a very good point, because I was making that the other week. It seemed unfair to me that you had Wimbledon on 1 and 2, and then some nights you had on ITV the women's football. I made that comment, and in a way I had to eat my words because the football came good. But what if you're not into sport and you've only got the 4 channels, the 5 channels with Channel 5, because you haven't got Sky? What if that? I don't think that's fair. And the BBC have got the iPlayer now, so why don't they put some of it on there, or most of it on there? It's like Glastonbury. When that guy started saying kill Jews, why don't they just cut away? They've got cameras on all the different stuff. I've been to Glastonbury 4-5 times. They've got cameras on every stage. They could just cut away. No. Do you know why? Because he was saying he was pro-Palestine. If he'd been saying he was pro-Israeli, they'd have cut away before you could fart, burp, or cough. And you know it's true. You know it's true. This is what it's like. The BBC is stuffed full of left-leaning liberals, and it would be a much better organisation if there was a mix of people. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Dave Handley, John, keep up the good work. I think it's 169 quid now. I've not renewed mine since March. BBC is past redemption. He's on Twitter. I'm not sure how much it is. I looked today and it said 157. Maybe it is. Anybody know? Anybody bothered? Anybody going to pay? Am I bothered? Anybody going to pay for it? No. Right? People aren't paying for it. Once everybody realised those detector vans have got no machinery in them, right? You did know that, didn't you? Everyone, the bloke knocks on the door and they go, yeah, I'm from the TV licence, yeah. You got a telly? No. What's that I can hear? It's a radio. Can I come in? No. End of story. Maybe you'd like to talk about it. Ronnie Hurst, if we didn't pay the licence fee, we'd have to pay a licence fee to the government. Well, it is the government. It is the government. Their coverage of certain events, like their coverage today, it was like, oh, our supreme leader, he's curing the migrants coming across the channel. 50 people a week back to France. That's before it gets all held up in the courts. The only way to stop the boats is to close the hotels, take away the squeezy soap, put them all in tents in secure encampments, don't allow them out during the daytime. And on top of that, of course, is to make the regime tough. Don't let any more in. Put the army on the beach. How many times have I got to tell you this? Put the navy in the channel. Job sorted. Take them back to France. And if the French don't like it, simple. Come on then. Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, Macron. Only danger is he might send his wife in to fight. Then, of course, we would be bricking it because she's a hard case. I'm joking. Your views on that, please. Let's move on. We haven't had TV license for years. It's just not good value. The BBC are horribly biased, and not just politics. In sport, they pick a favourite, usually the most woke, and they gush over them and ignore the rest. I've seen that happen. I think that's quite a good point, Chopper MK50. Thank you very much indeed. If you'd like to make a point, let's have it now. What do you think about the BBC? I used to be, as I say, so proud of it. And I still think it's great. Lots of things the BBC do are right. But then the news coverage of Israel and the Palestinian war has been totally and utterly biased. I'm not saying Israel are innocent, not nowhere near. But I don't like the way it's being portrayed. Do you? And in my name? And I'm paying for it? Why is the license fee free to the rest of the world, says Ronnie Hurst? Well, they are tightening up on that now. It's much more difficult if you want to watch it on the iPlayer, but it's not too difficult, is it? And it's an old-fashioned way of funding it. That's what we've got to change. We've now got multiple channels. You can watch, I listen to GB. I don't bother getting up in the morning and go down. I used to get up, go down in my dressing gown. Careful, ladies. To watch, whichever news program I wanted in the morning. So now it'd be GB News, but I don't need to. I can just have it on my phone and I can watch the pictures if I want, or I can just listen to it while I'm doing something else on my computer. We're all multitasking, aren't we? So the BBC, again, hasn't got a place. The BBC should be no different to ITV. It should be free to view and funded by adverts. Personally, I don't understand why people pay for Sky when it's full of adverts as well. Surely that's a bad deal also. Well, yeah, but you're not forced to pay for it, I guess, is the argument. But I do agree with you. It's a fortune. Sky is an absolute fortune. And I tell you what Sky do, it's really naughty. They get you into a contract, both for their internet and indeed for their TV service. And then towards the end of it, they change the terms and whack it up. And then if you don't ring up, that's what you pay. But if you do ring up, they reduce it. But loads of firms are doing that. Lisa's car insurance just came through and they'd put it up. So I rang them up and said, how can it have gone up? The car's worth about $2 bob and a conker. It ain't the days of the Jaguar, is it? I said, no way. And you have a bit of to and fro and then they reduce it again. Why don't they just give you a fair price in the beginning? It's just rubbish. Fan of the Today on BBC 4, says Craig Urquhart. All right, Craig. You can pay for it. You can pay for it. Why can't you pay for it? I liked watching the cricket, but I had to pay for it. Not this. No, this cricket. I don't know whether they did it. Was that on Channel 4? I don't know. But I like football, so I pay for it. Why should you get the Today programme for nothing? And all those other knobs, they can afford it. Amrit Power Secon, well said. Thank you, my friend. I've been getting those letters from the BBC for 15 years, John, says Carl. Have you paid, Carl? Clearly not. Augustine Moore says, I'm enjoying the content as always. Ronnie Hurst says, the BBC is the government's propaganda. It's certainly propaganda. I agree with that. Listen, is anybody going to donate any money tonight? It's cut-off day at midnight tonight. So if you are thinking, I'm going to give Gaunty a few beers or coffees, at www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt, www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. Do it today. Because then I get that money next week. Yeah, it works on a weekly basis. Don't ask me why, it just does. And it keeps me going. Or you can do it on YouTube. Just press that $sign and donate whatever you fancy. Don't just sit there not paying, because it's not the BBC. I won't send you to prison, but come on, I'm worth a few quid, aren't I? I'm involved in local community or radio, John, and I've been trying to get this point across, says Russ. Thank you, Russ, and well done for doing that. I've got a friend who works on Coventry Hospital Radio, which has become more of a community station. I think they're good, and they should be subsidised and looked after. And that's why I say about local radio. It's what I just said to Craig Urquhart there. If he wants to watch or listen to the Today programme, why can't you pay for it? Why can't you pay for it like I pay for the football? If it's local radio, so it's about school closures, how to get your kids to school, etc., local issues, that won't ever be paid for by the market. You'd have commercial local radio. Well, you don't even have that anymore. They're all syndicated, aren't they? So I believe there's a place for BBC local radio. Not when it's crap and they're playing like 6 songs an hour or 7 songs. There's no need for any songs. If you're from the local neighbour, if you can't speak for 3 or 4 hours with phone calls and guests and contributors, then you're not really a radio presenter, are you? You're just a DJ, a popping J. And that's what's wrong. They're trying to make that, just like Radio 2. No, Radio 2 is great as well. On you go. But Radio 2 doesn't need to be funded. All of these things need to be looked at. Let's move on. Graham Hatton. The BBC is so left-wing, they make Chairman Mao look like a right-winger. You're right. I stopped paying the licence fee. I got rid of my TV, and I educate myself with books and literature instead. It's enlightening. You know what, Graham? That's a very good point. My daughter doesn't have a TV. So if I want to watch a bit of TV, I take my, computer. I can watch it on that. However, many nights, I just sit there and read, or I just sit there and contemplate. Or I've got Audible. Have you got Audible so you can hear books in your ears? Because I'm deaf, so I've got these hearing aids, so they're Bluetooth. So I get into a different world, and I've educated myself. I've been reading books orally like that with an A for years, a couple of years now. And it's made me a better person. All kinds of books on meditation, books on Buddhism, books on history, books on architecture, as well as all my Lee Child and my thrillers and the rest of it. It's great. It's really great. So, Graham, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Sharon Walker, years ago, our door number changed from 6 to a 4. They came to our door asking for our license, thinking that we didn't have one. They were sorely disappointed. Thank you, Sharon. Did you get one afterwards? I bought you a beer, Jon Gaunt. Thank you, David. That's David Marks. The BBC licence fee is an out-of-date poll tax. I don't hardly watch it. Well, why should you pay for it? You shouldn't, is the answer. And thank you for buying a beer and contributing some money. It's really, really important. Since I've been doing these as well and doing it on my own, of course, you've got the creative freedom to do it. And then some people try and put you down and say, oh, you haven't got much of an audience. And then you say, yeah, but look at the live audience. Look at the audience on Twitter and on Facebook. Add all those up. And then when you're looking at my YouTube channel, don't just look at the video bit. Look at the bit that says live. And my numbers are quite good from a standing start. I'm quite happy. Somebody said to me, don't get down, John. It's getting there. Or you're going to get there. And I'm thinking, well, I think I am there. I have got a loyal audience. I know when I do a show, people will be there. And I know because the shows are good and getting better, that they'll grow because they always have done. They always have done. So don't worry about me. I am fine. There we go. I got no money. Denise Deacon, haven't paid my licence since Hugh Edwards walked out of court with £280,000 of our money in his account. That is a really good point. That's a really good point. The pensions are outrageous. The way they look after pedos is outrageous. The bonuses, the whole thing is corrupt. Let me tell you, it's corrupt. And they're so in with the government, whichever government it is, you just can't trust them. This is why GB News have been good. The fact that they're challenging. I don't think they're the answer on their own now. I think the answer is actually more independent broadcasters doing it in their bedroom and broadcasting. I do, because then you get a whole load of opinion and you can pick and choose what you want. Where are we going next? The Feral Gamer. Why does it even warrant talking about in government? It's not important in the grand scheme of things. I don't know, life. So many don't pay anyway. There's more to life than damn TV. Well, that's because you're being a bit one-dimensional, if you don't mind me saying, Feral Gamer. It's not just about TV, this debate. It's about culture, and it's about our society, and it's about politics, and it's about the way they control you. Why do you think they want to introduce ID cards, which are going to be connected to your phone? What do you think's going on? I mean, tomorrow, don't forget, I'm talking to the terrorism and security expert. I'll tell you who it is now. It's Mike Yardley. I'm talking to him. I'm going to pre-record it in the morning. I may well put it out tomorrow evening. So I'm going to a funeral at 6 tomorrow. So I won't be live tomorrow. I might do another show and put it up. I won't actually physically be. I've got to go to this funeral. Well, shall I be honest? I'm not going to the funeral. I'm just going to the wake. I said to my mate, are we going to the funeral? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, it's depressing. I can remember her better over a beer. And in a way, he's kind of right. My mate Big George used to be on the radio with me in London and in Luton. He used to say before he tragically died, life is for the living. And I think he's right. And I've been reading these tributes to James Whale. And I never really got on with James Whale that much. I think he saw me as a bit of a threat, if I'm honest with you. But I respected him and what he'd achieved. But there's been all these memorials the last day or so. And it's kind of, I'm sure he'd be of the same opinion. Get on with your life. Get on with it. But he was a brave man, wasn't it? Did you hear his last broadcast where he's just whispering? Incredible bit of audio. It really is. From a professional point of view. It's a bit sick, isn't it? But that's the way it works in this profession. I stopped paying the licence fee 5 years ago. I missed the football and cricket, but I can watch the highlights on YouTube. I couldn't pay Gary Lineker's salary anymore. Mick Frinton-on-Sea, that is a very good email. But that's the weird thing, isn't it? If you've got a mobile phone now, do you remember you used to rush home after the football and buy the Pink? Did you have a Pink newspaper where you were, which was the sports results? And it was great because it had all the local sport as well. They don't do it anymore. The Coventry Telegraph used to do one. They don't do it now because there's no readership. Because everybody gets it on the mobile. Likewise, you can watch the goals. It feels like you can watch the goals straight after the game. Am I right? It's just like, you don't need the BBC. I haven't watched Match of the Day for years and years. We used to stay in to watch it. Mind you, didn't we used to do that with Kojak? When Kojak was on, the whole city went quiet, didn't it? There's only been a few programs like that. Kojak, Starsky and Hutch. Earlier in the day, I'd say Dukes of Hazzard. Can you think of any more? Programs that made you stop in for the night. Brilliant telly. I suppose Simon Cowell, when he first started, they were some of them. But some of the big American TV, the Kojaks, the Starsky and Hutch, Dukes of Hazzard. Dukes of Hazzard, that was crap, wasn't it? But you stayed in and watched it, didn't you? And then you go down the pub and everybody would be talking about it. We had some British shows like that. Auf Wiedersehen Pet, Boys from the Black Stuff. Just for a bit of fun. If you can think of any more, chuck them in. Graham says, I've had the threatening letters from the BBC. I haven't got a TV licence for the same reason I haven't got a pilot's licence. I ain't got a plane on my drive, nor a TV in my lounge. I like your style, big boy. I like it a lot. The classic was Maxine Croxall that changed the woke autocue from pregnant person to pregnant woman. Well played, lass, says Craig Urquhart. Yeah, that was a brilliant bit of telly. And she just said, I ain't doing this. I've had enough of this. Right? It's like when I talked yesterday or the day before about Nuneaton. I've looked back at that. I'm one of the only people talking about it. I knew where the law was. I knew that I wasn't in contempt of court. And I'm not going to have Starmer trying to pretend, just like with Southport, that he could use that to quieten us down. He's going to do that again. You know, if it kicks off, that's what he's going to say. Remember what happened last time? That's what he's going to say. I don't want to live in a world like that. That's why this debate isn't just about TV. It's about the kind of society you want to live in, the world you want to live in. What's Russ Cowdle say? Listen to Dan and myself Saturday morning, Cannock Chase Radio FM. It's definitely not bland, John. Yeah, when I talked about bland local radio, I was talking about commercial radio stations or BBC stations, Russ, where they don't, where they just want to play music instead of talk. If you're a station and you're talking about Cannock, good on you. Yeah? I used to do a football show. I loved it. It had the best ratings ever on BBC WM. It was on Birmingham. I used to be in BBC London all week. Then I'd come down on Saturday morning or come up. Well, whatever, you know what I mean. Go to Birmingham. And we developed this show where we went around the stadiums. So we spoke to, people at Wolves, people at the Villa, Coventry City, Walsall, the rest of it. And these were just the football guys. And football guys are quite straight-laced. They want to talk about 4-4-2 and they want about this. They used to love talking about Wayne Rooney's metatarsals. But getting them to talk generally is much more difficult. But we developed it. And I had some really talented guys. There was a guy called Paul Franks. There's another guy, his name escapes me, who was on WM. And, of course, there was the guy who's still there, the Brummie from Wolverhampton. Anyway, whatever. And we used to just have this amazing conversation. And the show was on for 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning. And a large part of it was talking to the boys who were going to commentate on the football later. But we didn't get into, it wasn't Wayne Rooney in those days, but is Dion Dublin playing today? No, it wasn't really about that. It was about the whole experience of going to the football, going to the game. What was the journey like? And lots of sexual innuendo. It was just fun. It's hard for me to explain it. It was some of the best radio I've ever done. Daz Hales, that was his name. Brilliant. He's still on WM. Brilliant performer. Because he's just normal. He just talks about life. And that's what local radio should be, in my opinion. Reg Lancaster, you pushed their propaganda for a few years, John. Sleep tight. Do you think so, Reg? Fair criticism. I took the money off them for an awful long time. I was the highest paid presenter in the whole of local radio. Do you think I'm embarrassed? No. Did I do a good job for them? Yes. Did I do exactly what they wanted? Not really. Did I build the audience up? Yes. Did the audiences claps when I left? Yes. Don't believe any of this? Go and have a look at the records. Look at the audience for BBC CWR now compared to when I was there. Or Luton. Trot along. BBC London, they were about to close it down till I saved it. So don't give me that. And don't ever make out that I pushed propaganda. I didn't. I did not. I still said what I felt. Of course, there's parameters. It's like when you're working for the Sun newspaper. You can't suddenly start going, Jeremy Corbyn. You can't. Obviously, there's parameters. But I didn't push propaganda. And if you knew me, Reg, you'd know that was such a slur, what you just said. But you're probably some lefty twat, so we'll just ignore you now. Brenda says, never had one, never will. Saved tons of money. I don't know where it went, though. Well said, Brenda. She's talking about the licence fee there. Council tax, probably, she says. She followed that up. What's this say? Hello, Gammon. Oh, Graham Burnett. Hello, Gammon. That's him having a go. You spent all night waiting to get on to say that to me. Twat. I can't see anyone under the age of 30 paying this tax. No way, Pedro. Now, that's a good point, Glassman, on YouTube. Thank you for it. If you're listening later on an audio podcast, if you want to see the whole show, and I'm getting rid of this beard. This beard's really irritating me tonight. Why do beards do that? They're suddenly fine. Then next thing is they make you itch. Anyway, ladies, can you give me some advice? What was I just saying to you before then? I'm sure the new look Jaguar would love to sponsor the BBC. Yeah, that'd be a nice fit, wouldn't it? Have you seen he's gone? Go woke, go broke, get the sack. Well, he's left, hasn't he? The chief executive. Idiot. It's worth £17 a month just for QT. You think Question Time's good? Russ, you need looking at, mate. I think you need looking at. I thought the beard was going, John, says Jackie Ward. I can't afford the razors. No, I was going to do it today, but I've had a hell of a day today. I've had a hell of a day. Been busy. Lisa's gone to see my daughter. They've gone to see this really interesting. Now, I won't say where in case morons go and try and find them, but they've gone to see this really interesting. It sounds like a ska soul band. And yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it myself. But anyway, I'll tell you about it tomorrow. I used to call you on talk in the old days. Used to go on as Russ from Litchfield. Oh, Russ, yeah, I remember. I don't, Russ. I don't remember you. Sorry, mate. I wish I did. But thank you for supporting me then. Dazza, you top man. He's just bought me a super sticker. £2.99 he's thrown into the pot. Thank you, Dazza. Really appreciate it, my friend, on YouTube. See, it's easy to do. Why don't you do it? Not worth it. The programs are repeated news. Missed the news channel. Is now on third rate, says Harry Howard. Well, a lot of the news is the same. It's because of the 24-hour news cycle and the fact they've got to keep doing the same stories. It doesn't work. GB News have almost got it right because they break away and have discussions, don't they? It isn't just repeating the news. Although some of their guests, I'm sure they'll have interesting opinions when they shave. Now, going back, the lady was asking me why didn't I shave my beard off? Just haven't had time. I'll probably do it tomorrow. Although I quite like it. Although it's that woman when she said, you look like Brian Cox. I don't know. I don't know whether to keep it or not. But the hairs are going up my nose today. Getting in the way of my cocaine. That's a joke. Where are we up to? Not worth it. The program's... just read that one. And Dazza, wish I could give you all my license fee money, John. You're worth it, mate. Unlike the BBC. You're right. Well, just give me a bit of it then. A bit of a tape on your glasses. H. What does that mean? Bit of a tape on your glasses. Don't think so. I'm not above that. These glasses are £1.25 from Super Saver. Brilliant. A bit of tape on those glasses of yours, John, and you could pass off. Oh, that's the rest of it. As Jack Duckworth, you cheeky get. David Cordingley. Hi, John. Saw your interview with Ben Habib. It was great stuff. Yeah, my set piece interview. They're going really well. Thank you for liking them. Tomorrow, I'm doing Mike Yardley. And I've got some great people lined up as well over the next few days. Our culture shouldn't be about being threatened with prison for not conforming. Well, I think I probably agree with that. James Whale was brilliant in his day. Even in his last days, he raised a smile and laughter. He was certainly a one-off. There's no two ways about that. Rush Cowdle says, Boone. What, you think I look like Michael Elphick? Well, I would take that as a great, great compliment if that was the case. I was in Boone. Did you know about this? I played a yobbo in Boone with the guy who's in the Hamlet advert with the comb over, and he was also Rabsy Nesbitt. Can't remember his name now. Great bloke. What a great bloke. But yeah, we did Boone. I was his right-hand man. And Michael Elphick, he was my favourite actor next to Richard Burton. Did you ever see... What was that program? They were late night security guards. Did you see it? Nightingales, I think it was called. Written by a guy from Coventry called Paul Machin. And Elphick was brilliant in it. Elphick was just this wonderful man. But when I did Boone with him, he was an alcoholic. And so they had to try and do everything in the morning before he went to the bar. But then he was drinking iron brew, and he said to me one day, "Do you fancy some When did he become Scottish? Anyway, when he was drinking the iron brew, he said, "Do you fancy some Gaunty?" I said, "Yeah, go on then." So I had a swig of it, pure vodka with just the tiniest bit of iron brew in it. And then we went to the bar, and one day when we were filming, I only had 3 lines or 4 lines. Anyway, he's an Elphick. He's just a normal bloke. Right? He didn't care whether you were the star with him or you were just an extra. I tell you who else was in it at the time. Neil Morrissey, nice guy as well. But what was I telling you just then? Oh, Elphick. He says, Elphick says, "What do you want to drink, Gaunty?" And that's become a brummie. Why has it become a brummie? He's a Cockney. I said, "I'll have a gin and tonic." He says, "Okay." He says, so then I said, "Oh, slimline." He says, "F off, you hairy ass beer drinker. I don't get slimline tonics." And he said, "And by the way, it'll be a double." And it was. So we sat in the canteen at the BBC. I think that was the BBC or something. Anyway, then he couldn't do the show in the afternoon because he was legless. What an actor. What an actor. One day, remind me to tell you the story about Elphick when he was in Gorky Park. Do you remember in that? He was one of the coppers in it. He dies in about the 3rd or 4th scene. There's a brilliant story about him and the star of that movie, which he told me, and I shall tell you about that. I shall tell you about that one day. You watched it for Daisy, is my guess, John. Craig, oh, he's talking about, what do you call it? Oh, God. John, come on. What's it called? Daisy. Boss Hog. Dukes of Hazzard. No, I didn't actually. I like the car. Mick in Frinton-on-Sea says, "How about Minder?" Yeah, brilliant. We stayed in for that, didn't we? With Arthur and Scotch Harry. Whatever happened to the Likely Lads? Oh, what a brilliant series. The one where they want to watch the England game later and they spend all day not being told the score, trying to make sure they get told the score. What an episode. They hated each other, though, in real life. Rising Damp. Well, Rising Damp was great, Mick in Frinton-on-Sea, but it wasn't a stay-at-home show. It was brilliant, but not a stay-at-home show. Only Fools and Horses. Yes, brilliant. Would never be made today. It's not politically correct enough. No, it certainly wouldn't be. I tell you what, though, if you just tune in anything, what's Gaunty talking about? This isn't heavy politics. No, it isn't. We just brought it up. Programs that made you stay in. And then you all went to the pub afterwards. Boys on Black stuff. Kojak. Dukes of Hazzard earlier in the day. And people are coming in with other things. It's good. Good night, America, wherever you are. Who said that? Stephen Alden is saying it to me now. It was his sign-off. James Whale. You confused me. I think they're coming in different things. James Whale was great as the breakfast show host on BBC Essex. Another great county station that promotes Essex news. Yeah, he went there, didn't he, when he was sacked by Talk, I think. He got back into BBC Local Radio, and he was great. Because you know what? He treated it the same. People used to say that to me. When you're on Talk Sport, you had 1 million listeners. What was that like? And it was like, well, just the same as when I was in Coventry, and we had about 4. Because you don't talk to all of them. The secret of... See, I'm giving you coaching lessons. I used to get paid loads of money for... You just talk to one person. So when I'm doing this, it's quite good because there's usually only 1 or 2 people listening and the dog. But you just talk to one person. Yeah? So I never say, all of you think this. No, one person. Where am I now? Hi, John. Do you remember that call-in with the Blair fans some years ago where he said address him by his proper name? He was elected. Don't forget that either. Ta-ra. Thank you, Stephen. I don't know what you're on about, Stephen. I remember saying to David Blunkett, I was in Milton Keynes. David Blunkett was on the thing. He was on the phone, and Blair was coming to Milton Keynes. So Blair was going to talk to me, and Blair was late. And so I had to talk to Blunkett, who I hate. He's the most unpleasant man in the world. Well, not the most unpleasant, but one of them, that's for sure. And then... So then I asked him some tricky political questions, and then he said, I've got to go now. Mr. Blair's here. So I said, how do you know? I tell you what, everyone laughed. But if I'd said that today, I'd get the sack, wouldn't I? Huh? Not here, because I'm the boss. Jack Duckworth. Who says Jack Duckworth? O.B. Carlos. You think I look like Jack Duckworth? Oh, fair enough. He was good in Alfie Z's Aim Pet. He wasn't in Alfie Z's Aim Pet. You misread. Craig Urquhart. That's a good joke. You misread what that lady said, John. She said you look like Brian's cop. Ah, very funny. Very amusing. How many lines? Says Laura Manino. What, in Boone? I had about 8. The best bit was that they had a brand, I'm a Jaguar fan. They had a brand new Jag, and so the props guy had parked it up. Rabsy Nesbitt gets a kick in off Michael Elphick. Elphick opens the back door of the Jag, shoves him in there with my mate Kevin, who was the other extra in it. We weren't extras, we were artists. And then I have to wind the window down, press the button there, and Elphick looks in at me and he goes, "You better take him to the hospital," right? And then I'm meant to just speed off. There's an Edgbaston, this, right? In Birmingham, we're filming it. So it's a 40-odd grand Jag. I was a bit bricking myself, to be honest. But the props guy said, "Don't worry, I've put it on full lock. So you just hold it down, put your foot down. There's no gears. It'll just go like stink. And then take your foot off it. By the time you take your foot off it, we'd have cut away anyway, so you'd be fine." I went, "All right, then. I can do that, I think." So I didn't even have a drive. I lied. I told him I had a license. I didn't even have a license at the time. I wouldn't have got the part of the one. So I'm in the car. Action. Right. Smack. Door opens. I don't look round because I'm meant to be hard. I'm looking through the windscreen. I hear Rabsy Nesbitt fall on the back seat of the Jag, right? And then I hear the door slam. And then Elphick face comes in and I look at him. And I'm meant to look petrified because it's Boone, right? "You better take him." You know, you said that raw, but "You better take him to the hospital." I went, "All right." Whack. Unbeknown to me, we'd done it once and I'd forgotten. They'd said cut before Elphick came round the front. So the Jag had moved a little bit. When they put it back in position, you know what's coming, don't you? It wasn't quite where it should be. So it's behind a transit van. "You better take him to hospital." "Yeah." That was my lie. "Yeah." Woof. Put down, smack. I drove a 40 grand Jag into the back of a transit. And I'll tell you whose Jag it was, because TV money was tight at that time. Do you remember Gabriella Drake? She was in Crossroads. They brought Crossroads back, and she was in that. So it was the same Jag. I wrote off her Jag. Well, I didn't write it off. They had to get another one for the next scene. Anyway, just a story. He was good in Alfie's in Pet. Who? Michael Elphick. He wasn't in it, was he? Laura Marino says Knight Rider, and of course the A-Team. Yeah, I was never a fan of the Knight Rider, but I did love the A-Team. Michael Elphick was in Alfie's Aim Pet, John. Oh, I made a mistake. We can all make mistakes. My mistake was bringing up my TV career, because you've basically had most of it now. Fraser Ford puts his thumb up, and that's the end of the show. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you didn't mind me going off a bit of a tangent, telling you about what it was like to be in radio or on telly, doing bits and bobs of telly. We had this ambition, me and my mate. We were trying to be in every soap opera. Because the other guy I worked with, I love that. Did I ever tell you when I gave my Leah? It's rubbish, isn't it? I was one step up from an extra. Tom Courtney. I worked with him. Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. He was my hero when I was a kid, when I was in care. And when do you remember when in Long Distance Runner, when he stops, he's winning the race, he stops and he's basically going to the Borstal authorities. Do you remember that? It shaped my life, that did. Tom Courtney, what a brilliant actor. Tom Hull. Oh, yeah. Brilliant actor. I can't remember the thing I was in with him. It was something about gangsters. It was quite good. Do you remember that thing? Gangsters, remember that? That was my mate Banger. He became my bodyguard later in life. Anyway, shut up, John. I'm going. You've had 54 minutes and I've probably made about a 10 punts. So thanks very much for all your contributions. Feel free. Tell everyone about it. There's nothing else like it anywhere in the country at the moment. Oh, Craig! I love you. Not as much as I love Tom Courtney or Michael Elphick, but I do love you. He's just put in a super sticker for a £5. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. That's so kind of you. You don't know how much that means to me. It means I can eat tomorrow. Chopper MK50 says, thanks to the show, John. Nice change from the boats and all the Starmer stuff. Well, I agree with you. So I was going to talk about this thing, about the latest thing about the boats, but there's no point, is there? Because we know what we're going to say about that. And so I thought, let me do something different tonight. See, I talk to myself. That's the other thing as well, that radio turns you mad. So I talk to myself, Gaunty, I think you should do this now. Ooh. Anyway, he played McGowan. He did. He did. He was like a bit of a psycho, wasn't he? He's talking about 08 Carlos is talking about Alfina's own better Michael Elphick. You're right, he did do that. And he was in Quadrophenia. He was Phil Daniels' dad. That's a good movie, isn't it, as well? Huh? Bet you didn't know I had all this TV knowledge. Remind me next time, if it's not a really serious show, I'll tell you what he did to the star of that, big heartthrob guy. Ended up marrying, I think he's just passed away, actually. He ended up marrying Joanna Wally. Remember Joanna Wally? He's still around. Do you remember her in The Singing Detective? When she does that bit with Michael Gambon? I was like, if you don't know it, what's the kids say? If you know it, you know it. Something like that. Anyway, I'm off. That's my happy ending. I'll see you tomorrow. No, I won't. I will do a show some point tomorrow, but it won't be at 6:30 because I'm off to a funeral, which should be a really good day, actually, to be honest with you. This woman was marvellous, a marvellous woman. I didn't really know her that well. My best mate did, so I'm going as his, they call it a Batman or something? I don't know what it's called. Anyway, I shall see you. I'll do a show anyway at some point, either live or recorded, and I'll probably do one on Friday to make up for it. Thanks a lot for making it so successful. Tell all your friends about it. Jon Gaunt is back, and he's Jon Gaunt TV if you want to check that out as well on YouTube. Right, until we meet again, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug, give them a box set of Boone. I'll see you soon. Don't forget to tell your kids that you love them. See ya. Bye.